the Universal Library, and this is our Capitol Hill Auditorium. So you are most welcome. Dear Bazi, we would like to take a prayer from one of your students before we just continue.
in Dili, Timor-Leste, Liberia Minister of Foreign Affairs was appointed unanimously as deputy chairing country of the G7 Plus, together with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Democratic Republic of Congo. So both of them are now assuming the role of deputy chairing country. Why Liberia? Because Liberia matters to us. Because Liberia had undergone this transformation over the last 22 years of relative peace. Beforehand, you also faced similar challenge in my country. We also in 1999 we had a huge upheavals crisis. Yeah, militias similar to what happened in Rwanda 30 years ago. So now you enjoyed relative peace, and this is your role as university students. I would imagine that after this, you would be acting as an agent of peace, agent of change in your country, in your region. That's why this G7 Plus, the objective is that we are united by the vision of peace and stability. We promote peace, we promote dialogue, we promote reconciliation, we promote this equal opportunity for us to sit down at the table and discuss our common issues facing our countries. And at the political level, we know that at the moment, Liberia is facing, is having the so-called little skirmish of tension with your neighbor, Guinea-Conakry. Your president is now has gone there with the president of Sierra Leone and president of Cote d'Ivoire. The three of them are starting to de-escalate the crisis or the tension in the border area. This shows the courage of leadership. This shows the visionary leadership, shows the willingness of your leaders to de-escalate the situation so that people can move on and live with their livelihoods. Yeah. So this is about something that with the G7 Plus are really, really promoting. So we are here because your country has got double success. One is that you assume this role as a new deputy chair, and also this year you also assume the role as one of the United Nations member of UN Security Council. Because getting into Security Council is a huge battle, right? It requires a lot of negotiation, requires a lot of diplomacy, requires a lot of political buy-in, support from other member states, and you managed to do it. And credit to your leadership to manage to get it. And we hope that Liberia's presence at the United Nations is going to amplify the voices of young people like yourself, of civil society, of the government officials. Everyone is inclusive process in this whole process at the United Nations. Let alone now we face these geopolitical shifts, hegemony by big superpowers. Now, who are in the brunt of this crisis is us, the G7 plus countries. Countries like us who have no power at the international level, we suffer. Yeah, rising oil prices, inflation, you name it. So we've suffered for this. That's why we're here to discuss this with your leaders. And next week we'll be in DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, to discuss this with the dignitaries over there. Try to consolidate the members, try to seek a common position of the G7 Plus in order to carry this forward. So with that note, before I pass the message to my deputy to get through the G7 Plus, I just wanted to convey the message. You're not alone here. You also have other like-minded youth, university students, very dynamic, very proactive in other countries. In my country, I used to teach at the university as well. So I know how students have this drive, have this desire, have this motivation in order to be able to promote peace at the country level. Students, your role is not to stage demonstration, whatever. In my country, they do this because the government allows, by constitution, you are allowed to stage demonstration, but in a responsible way. Yeah. So with that note, I just wanted to say that I just discussed this with you this morning. We had a very good session with the civil society representatives here, and I learned something from them that I would use this word to spread this to other civil society in other countries. That civil society, including students and other academia and so on, your role is to provide this intelligent thinking in order to complement the visionary agenda of your leaders in this country. Because you're not acting like a protagonist or an enemy or an adversary of the government, but you complement, yeah, your ideas, your vision, your thoughts now. And if I may borrow my Prime Minister of Timor-Leste, Xanana Guzman, you can search this. Xanana Guzman is the former guerrilla fighter. In the past, they used to call him the Nelson Mandela of Southeast Asia because he was imprisoned by the Indonesian for 7 years, and he came out and he promoted this reconciliation between our country, who was occupied by Indonesia, and with our former occupied Indonesia. So this reconciliation is now happening between country to country, G to G, institution to institution, people to people, and now we have the most safest border in the world, if you might say, compared to Afghanistan and Pakistan, who now are engaged in war, compared to Gaza, West Bank. I think Timor-Leste share an island, is an island, half an island, share with the Indonesia West Island of Timor. We now manage this border control, the free movements of students, free movements of people and goods and services, now becoming one of the most safest border control in the world. This is what we want to say. Because at the end of the day, the G7 Plus promote peace. Because there can be no peace without development, and there can be no development without peace. And who can continue to sustain this peace is us, the students and the professors at this university. So with that note, I just wanted to stop here, and we'll have a more interactive discussion, but I'll hand over to my deputy to also provide you more details. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Helder. I know it's very difficult to keep you holding here. I'll try to make it more interactive and just maybe not more than 10 minutes to what our General Secretary, Dr. Da Costa, mentioned. But I would like to start with asking quick questions, and I want a quick answer. If you could please volunteer yourself.
First thing that I knew about it was that it's a country that is located in the exit area. Yeah.
Anything that you heard from the news about East Timor, or you remember?
No, I don't remember
Okay,
that.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I come from Afghanistan, but East Timor is also my second home. Have you heard about Afghanistan? Of course, right? From where? From the news, right? Okay, what comes to your mind the first times you think, or the first time you hear about Afghanistan? War. Thank you. Taliban. Excellent. Let's move to another part of the world. Have you heard about Paris or France? Of course, right? What do you visualize when you think about Paris? Eiffel Tower. Excellent. Excellent. Beautiful. Nice. Okay. One more question, just to balance it a little bit. Sierra Leone, you know? Okay. What comes to your mind when you hear about Sierra Leone? Diamond, blood diamond. Excellent. You made my job very easy. That's it. My presentation is done. When you hear about Afghanistan, the first thing comes to your mind is Taliban, war, and conflict. When you heard about East Timor, what comes to your mind is brutal occupation and poverty. When you hear about Sierra Leone, you hear about, the first thing comes to your mind is blood diamond because of the movie, right? But when we hear about France, the first thing that comes to our mind is Eiffel Tower. France was in a bloodier war than is Afghanistan. France was in a bloodier conflict than in East Timor. France was in a bloodier war than is Liberia. Why do people remember France with Eiffel Tower and Sierra Leone with the blood diamond? If you look at the history of Europe, the two world wars that caused hundreds of millions of lives, right? It was in Europe. It was not in Africa. It was not in, of course, it was fought on our shoulder. Many of the countries at that time who were part of the colonies of, British Empire or France, they were fighting as soldiers. Even East Timor, the smallest island, Japanese came and they invaded, and Australia came and they said, you know what, go fight Japanese. There were hundreds of thousands of Timorese that lost their lives, but there were only tens of maybe or 20 or 30 or maybe 100 lives that were lost from Australia, a bigger power. So what are we doing as the G7 Plus? We are trying to change that story. Our story is not only about wars. We also have good things. I will tell you very quickly. When I came to Liberia, this is also my second time here. Yesterday we went to Ducor Hotel. Now when I think about Liberia, I will not think about war. I will think about the good things. It was a gem in West Africa. When I think about Sierra Leone, I have been to Sierra Leone. Before, I would think about Blood Diamond, but when I went there and I saw the resilience of people, I would think about the power, the potential that country has, the beauty that country has. Before I came to East Timor or Timor-Leste, I remember back then when I was youngster, on BBC, the only thing that we knew about East Timor was just war, occupation, and that. But when I visited there, I found something good, better to talk about. Nobody talks about the war that France fought, but they think about Eiffel Tower. We also have so many Eiffel Towers. We also have so many good things. We also have so many good stories, but we just need to change that narrative. And that is why the G7 Plus has existed. We are a group of countries. We want to tell a different story. When we go outside, when we pass through the immigration, the first thing when they look at your passport, if you're coming from Liberia or Sierra Leone, South Sudan, Yemen, Afghanistan, they look at you like this. Why? They think that war and conflict is in our DNA. It is not. They think that fragility is in our DNA. It's not. We are peaceful people. We are resilient people. We are hospitable people. Your countrymen have been to Afghanistan. We are known for hospitality. We are known for poetry. We are known for reconciliation. We sit with our enemy. We try to resolve our issues over food, not over gun. Of course, if you invade us, then definitely the story is different. That is the case for every country. Now the international narrative has made us that, okay, these are just terrorists, they just like war, they just like, no, it's not that. The same goes to Sierra Leone, the same goes to Yemen. If you go to these countries, there are positive stories. If I talk to some taxi drivers in outside, even I've been able to speak to some citizens of the G7 Plus taxi drivers in Washington, in New York, who were born there, they have a different story about their own country. Why? Because they have been fed with that information from media, nothing else, just war, war, war. There is a saying that they say that if you treat me as a dog, I will act as a dog. Unfortunately, we have been treated like that by international community. We have been treated by that by the imperial powers. They came, they invaded us, they colonized us, they created problems us, and they hold us responsible for that. So the G7 Plus is trying to change that narrative that no, you don't need to teach us how to live peacefully. You just let us live in peace. War is not in our DNA. You all have a lot of, cultural norms through which you resolve your conflict. Many of you have seen conflicts. I have grown up in refugee camp. These colleagues of mine, they have grown up in refugee camp. You also have seen refugees. You also have seen what displacement means. But you still aspire. You still have hope. You still have hope for a better world. I bet if any of the citizens from Europe, and they come and they live in my shoes for 1 year, then I'll salute him or her. No, they can't. Because they don't have that capacity. We have that resilience. We should be known for our resilience. We should be known for our hope that we hold. You're here as students in the universities. If you go and you meet your peer in other countries, they are studying in a very better environment. But I bet you are better than them. I bet you have more intellectual insight than they do. But they don't know you from that perspective. So that is why, just to make a long story short, the G7 Plus, which comprises of countries from around the world, without having any vested interest, we are the only organization that is cross-regional and that have come together out of solidarity, not out of vested interest. I don't have any vested interest in your affairs. The only vested interest I have is I feel the empathy for you. I'm empathetic for you because I know what it means to be displaced. I know what it means to be in war. And I also know what it means to be in peace. So the G7 Plus was born and founded with this notion. Our members come from Africa, from Caribbean, from Asia Pacific, from Middle East, with just one notion. And that is that we want peace. We want to leave the bitter past behind. And we also want to make the world or convince the world to recognize our incremental progresses. We just came out of meeting with development partners. Many of them are asking the same questions. You know, there is no gender inequality. You know, there are corruption. You know, there is no transparency. We say, yes, we accept. We accept, but we also have some incremental progresses that you have to understand. You have to recognize. Please look at our potential. Not only just about risks, not only just about the problems that we are facing. Of course, we are not perfect. And we accept it with the humility that we are not perfect, but we are trying our best. And our biggest potential and our biggest resources are our youngsters. And if we invest in them, definitely we can be peaceful citizens. But unfortunately, the world is unfair. We are again now going into geopolitical fragmentations in the world. And again, we are the bigger powers are trying to make us as a battleground for another war, for another instability. But what we are trying to do among ourselves, we're trying to come together and to say that, look, let's just this time protect ourselves. We don't want to be part of any issues. For example, if you look at the borders, the same communities, these borders were, drawn by colonial legacy. They were not borders, they are not natural boundaries. Of course, we don't want to redraw them, no. But what we want to do is, if Europe can live peacefully with each other, Germany and France and all these countries, they were like brutal enemies. Not distance past, just few decades ago. Now, if you go to Europe and you cross a border, you don't even realize if I'm crossing a border. Peacefully, they're living with each other. They're integrated. The citizen of Italy can go and work in Geneva, in Switzerland. The citizen of Switzerland can work in Germany. Why can't we do that? We don't have any inborn or any genetic enmity with that. It's not that we want. It's imposed on us. They just look for small kind of, problems and they just like expose it and then, oh, you know what, there is war. So the message from that is, again, as our General Secretary mentioned, we need to maintain that peace. We need to recognize that reality, that the war is not in our DNA. We have a better future if we just try to change the narrative in our own mindsets. And finally, it will depend on the young generation. Nowadays, the generation and the whole of these countries, you're on the verge, either, God forbid, of destruction or of making your way out of it. Why? Because with the emergence of social media, we are all prone to manipulation. We're all prone to disinformation, misinformation. It can change our mindset. And now we have the so-called new God, which is the artificial intelligence algorithm, which is predicted to change everything about, even it will change the identity of human beings. It will change it will put a stop to the mental evolution of human beings, because everything will be under the fingertips. How are you going to prepare yourself for that? And that is a hard question we have to answer, and particularly our youngsters. You have to answer that question yourself. You have to better prepare yourself so that you do not get manipulated. You do not get misused by social media, by propaganda. And again, how are you going to prepare yourself for the the AI, the artificial intelligence? It's going to snatch away your critical thinking. It's going to snatch away your capabilities. And you can only do that by working hard and by studying hard. And one last thing that I would like to mention is, one of the uniqueness of ours, although we are intergovernmental organization, but when we come together, we speak like brothers. We do not sugarcoat words. like diplomatically, because again, out of empathy. So that's why we were very candid with you, and we have been very candid with each other. We are trying to, expand this narrative, that this discourse that we have to have. But of course, it will require courage, and it will require also some, passions. If we understand, if we respect each other as citizens, as equal citizens, and brothers and sisters, definitely then things are going to change. And also, although we are intergovernmental organizations, our governments are not perfect, I'm telling you. Yes, there are a lot of problems, there are a lot of challenges. Sometimes our youth are manipulated by the Western countries. They're saying, oh, you know what, come out on protest, go and destroy everything. No, please don't do that. It takes hell of a lot of work to make peace, but it takes just few things to do and to destroy everything that you have. Always think of the past. Living in war is not easy. Many of you might have remember, the bitter past that you have had through. Do you want that to be repeated on you? No. I bet no one wants to that. So that is shortly my intervention. We will welcome you to visit our website and also read our stories and see our achievements. Be proud of your country. Liberia is one of our leaders. It's one of our founding members. Your former president has been our mentor, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Have you heard about goal number 16 or SDGs or Agenda 2030? Do you know there is a goal number 16 on peace, justice, and effective institutions? You know who introduced that goal? The G7 Plus under the leadership of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. No country wanted that group. They didn't want that goal in the Agenda 2030. She was fighting in between, there was a high-level panel which was led by the Prime Minister of UK, by the President of Indonesia, and also by the President of Liberia. And she stood up and she said that because we know that without peace, you cannot achieve development. If you have war, you build a school. I have lived that reality in Afghanistan. Today, we will construct a clinic. Tomorrow, it will be destroyed because there was no peace. So peace for us is the core. If we have peace, of course, then we can achieve development. The rest of issues can be solved. We can make our government better. We can achieve accountability. We can, improve our governance, and we can achieve our development if we have peace. Thank you so much for your attention, and God bless you all.
You can do better than that.
All right, so we all going to pay attention to the discussants. They will be up there. They will go through they just did the introductory portion. They will go through their discussion, and I will ask you, take your pen and paper, jot down your points, and as they reach the question and answer period, we will come to you just by raising your hands, and we'll give you the opportunity so you can ask your question and get in those. Thank you. Let's go out there then. All right, so they will be very brief. Please, from the previous discussion, I hope you got a few questions. You can jot your questions down. They will be given the next 5 minutes to expand a little bit, and then the question will come in in 10 to 15 minutes, we ask the audience. It is because they were to project these things so you can read through them and be able to jot down questions. But unfortunately, those projectors did not come. So let's start from where we are. Thank you. So, Tirada, you'll be the first.
Thank you. I believe that in the spirit of interactive discussion, I will now hand over to the floor to you to raise any clarification, questions, or comments or feedback. I just wanted to say that based on the presentations that we both did, one thing that you can take away from this is that remember 5 words in our narrative: nothing about us without us. Meaning that we own this country, we own this land, we own this nation. So anything that comes from outside, they need to consult with you as the main stakeholders of this country. It's like when you go to a doctor, right? When you are ill, you go to a doctor. The doctor, before get you diagnosed, he or she will ask you what sort of your illness. You are the ones who tell them, this is my illness, or this is what I feel, I'm not feeling well, so that he or she can give you the right prescription. Similar to our, that analogy can also be applied to at the country level. When the country is in need for development assistance, you are the one who tell them, I need this in health, I need this in agriculture, tourism, development, infrastructure, you name it. So the moral of the story is that the G7 Plus defends the principle of this new deal for engagement in fragile states. And we just came out from our meeting with the developed partners at the UN House. We say this to them, that we are here not to carry the flag of our own respective country where we come from, but we are here and to collaborate and to cooperate with the leaders and the people of this country. At some point, they are the ones who should be in the forefront. This is simply the word of empowerment. Yeah. It is in that context that we share this spirit with you, so that in your mission, when you talk to people, be it development partners, stand ground on your firm on the ground and say this is my country, my voice, my ideas need to be heard. On the second point, we also, in our G7 Plus work, we promote this concept called F to F cooperation, fragile to fragile cooperation. Nowadays, in the narrative of the global South Hemisphere, people talk about South-South and triangular cooperation, meaning that one country share experience or share best practices from one another. That's the best example, rather than you parachuting the most expensive advisors from the northern countries to come here and then provide you with advice, provide with the reports. In the end, those reports will end up in the shelves, get dusty, no one can read it. But the most powerful example that we can do is one experience from this country can be shared with your neighboring country. That's how we empower, we help each other in order to move from fragility towards resilience. Yeah. So with that note, I will now stop here and encourage you to challenge us, raise some questions, or whether what we say has no relevance to you. Yeah. So thank you so much.
So thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So I took one thing from there. The 5 pillars is about us, ask us, and we will do what? The 5 pillars, you named 5 pillars. Oh, nothing about us without us. So ask us about us. Yeah. So that's why I took from that. Nothing about us without us. So ask us about us. So we can tell you about us. All right. So we're giving the next learnings. Expand a little bit. Is okay. All right. So we'll be taking question and answer. If you have a question, you will post your question. They will jot the question down after a few Queen of the University of Liberia. And we'll take her question first. Madam Queen.
Thank you. And thanks for that wonderful presentation. So I'm eager to know, I'm just curious. Can you share a concrete success story where G7 Plus directly influenced peace building or governance outcome, please?
Just did you understand the question? I know, but you understood the first one, right? All right. So who next?
Thank you. I appreciate the lecture time with you. 7 plus when it comes to peace building and development. Because normally many a times we see the leaders in our country as the problem, and sometimes we also see the citizens of the country as problem, while we experience the imperialism and we experience the international influence on our country and the negative impact it has on our own country. So I want to know your own scope of work and how these prevailing circumstances around the world affect our country and how you can help to relate with the government here in Liberia to benefit the citizens as well. Thank you.
Yeah. My question is this. I don't know what was the turning point or what incident ignited the formation of the organization amidst organizations like the United Nations organizations. I said I want to know what incident ignited the formation of the G7 amidst other top international organizations.
You want to know what brought about? So let me, the person here was about first.
Thank you so much for the deliberation. So I was curious about the primary goal of this organization, G7 Plus, and what are the measures that the organization have been putting into place in order to achieve their goal?
So we have 4 questions, right? We got 4 questions, right? So they will address the first 4 so that I don't be balky on them. They will address the first 4, then we'll move on to the next 4. Please. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'll be very brief, considering the time. The first question from our young lady there. What is G7 Plus influence in peace building? There are a lot that we have done. Yeah, we don't blow a trumpet what we have done at the global level, but I can give you 2 classic examples that we have done. First, in terms of peace building, as my colleague Habib mentioned to you, that your former president, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, together with the successive government over the past 10 years, have shown the visionary leadership, influencing the world. And thanks to Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, firm belief and visionary that say this to the world, that we want peace included in the Agenda 2030. because otherwise it has been ditched by the SDG 16, because there was pros and cons during the ensuing period of the negotiation of the SDG. Even some quarters, some sectors from the UN said that let's not overcrowd peace agenda in the SDG, because peace is normally the prerogative right of the UN Security Council. We say no, peace is a matter of day and death and life in our countries, especially at the rural level, at the town level, and so on. So it has to be grounded at the grassroots level, not a point of talking in the United Nations headquarters. It is in a context that we influence the peace building, and that's why the goal of number 16 was included successfully in the SDG 16 of the whole Agenda 2030. Another example, your neighboring country, Guinea-Bissau, faced political problems in 2013, 2014, even now, last year, until now. You know why? The part of the problem is because the country is obsessed by coup d'etat. No government exceeded 5 years in 5 years mandate. Or if you look at the trajectory of Guinea-Bissau, coup after coup, yeah. Even a government is democratically elected, it's only dragged down by unconstitutional means. So in 2014, 13, when Guinea-Bissau was sanctioned by international community, the international community including IMF, African Development Bank, World Bank, all major powers, Guinea-Bissau was left alone. So they approached Timor-Leste as another country that speaks Portuguese, and they really need help. And the moment they approached, they wanted to conduct the elections, but they didn't have the resources. The resources that they put forward to, as Abib mentioned early on, and they put forward an amount of 35 million US dollars to conduct an election. Former Minister of Planning from Guinea-Bissau to Timor-Leste to assess the situation. The first indicator, you look at the terrain, the topography. Timor-Leste is mountainous. Its topography consists of mountainous, coastal line, and plateau. But when it comes to the election, it costs less. Whereas Guinea-Bissau, the terrain is flat. So it should be, theoretically, by default, it should be less cost. Why you need 37 million? So there was a team coming from Timor-Leste to assess, and they came up with 7 million US dollars. And Timor-Leste helped Guinea-Bissau to conduct the elections, including getting the registration card vote for the first time ever that Guinea-Bissau was able to hold elections in its 40 years existence since independence in 1975 or 74. Yeah. So this is again another example of influencing peace building in the country. And last year, we sent our team to observe the elections in Guinea-Bissau. And the elections appeared to be running smoothly. Everything was really declared free, fair, and transparent election. But guess what? A few days before the election results was announced, boom, there was a coup d'etat. And my team was there, and they were stranded for a few days because there was no flight coming out, and they had to be there stranded in the hotel for a few days. This shows the dynamics, yeah, in the country. And now, what can we do? Yeah, and the G7 Plus is doing the thing not in the middle of the attention of the media, no journalists, no media, but we are doing this behind the scenes. Whereas other organizations, they have done this. For example, ECOWAS, African Union, even CPLP, Portuguese language speaking countries, they are also trying to do their best, including us, the G7 Plus. So all these examples to show you that whenever happens in one particular country, we are obliged morally to help that particular country because they are member states. It's like this. When someone is falling off the chair, you don't go and kick, the person's already fallen out. All you need to go and, look, stand up, man, brother, stand up, let's talk. And don't repeat this again, yeah? So that's the kind of conversation we promote within the G7 Plus. Now, on the scope of work, whatever I explained to you, if there's just something missing, Habib can fill the gap. Yeah, at the global level, our work has expanded in terms of doing diplomacy and advocacy. We do this kind of track one, track two diplomacy by bringing together the protagonists of whoever are in the ground, bringing together to a neutral country to do negotiations, because it is your country. Regardless, you have differences, you need to sit down and talk. Who are we from outside to come and dictate you, tell you, you need to do this? No, you are the one who should be able to manage to set the difference among yourself. Whatever you need assistance, we can provide. But at the end of the day, it is you, the citizen of the particular country, who have to decide about your own future. So we have done this dialogue and reconciliation and so on. Another scope of work that we do is that we also send our delegation, our G7 Plus officials, to Rwanda. You know, Rwanda is, is a country that really suffered 30 years ago because of the genocide. But now, within that particular period of time, 3 decades, less than 3 decades, they turned the country into one of the most reference countries in the world by scholars, observers around the world. So we now have this memorandum of understanding with Rwandan Cooperation Initiative. They consider them like a mentoring country for us to show the homegrown solutions and homegrown initiatives. If it works in their country, it means that it could also work in our country. If Rwanda can make it, why can't we? Yeah. Because they don't have natural resources. That's one thing. Whereas other countries have plentiful natural resources. But unfortunately, I tell you, we're not managing it very wisely. We're not managing prudently. We're not managing it wisely. That's why we, the G7 Plus, we launched this initiative, which we call Rapid Response Center, which run by the foundation of the G7 Plus on a pro bono basis. So this facility is now offered to other member states to take up so that they can increase the bargaining position in negotiating with multinational companies or neighboring countries whenever it comes to the situation of legal dispute or in terms of natural resource dispute and so on and so forth. So question 3 on turning point, why the G7 Plus? I think we can have a discussion this a day long, but in a nutshell, I just wanted to say this to you, that the turning point that G7 Plus came together because aid has not been effective in our country. Aid effectiveness is a big agenda of our development partners in dealing with us. That's why when you go and I encourage you to go and Google the AAA Accra Agenda for Action, paragraph 21, point B and E, it says there clearly there is a need to establish an international dialogue on peace building and state building, where you bring together the forum of donor countries and fragile states to come and sit down and talk. So it is in that context that the G7 Plus turn the table around, sit with them on an equal footing at the same table. Whereas in the past, they consider themselves as donors, we are recipient. You can't do this. We are now partner, equal. That's how development should be. That's why Habib explained to you that it's like a champagne glass. Yeah, like you have to handle this with care, with really because it's delicate. That's why we need to handle it. That's the turning point. And among ourselves, we consolidate among our members. We share the experience among ourselves. Sierra Leone shared its experience on public financial management. Liberia could also share your experience for example, in public financial management, which is you're very good at. Yeah, and Timor-Leste can share its experience on natural resource management because by far it's small country with 1.5 million people has got 17 billion US dollars saved in the reserve bank in order to sustain the state budget every year. So this is the kind of thing that we can share among other member states. So that's the turning point and the scope of work that we do. Why we did this? Because only us, we believe, we are convicted, we believe with conviction that only sharing of those valuable experience among ourselves, that you can apply this at your country for the benefit of your own people. If you rely on those people from outside, I'm sorry to say this, yeah, apart from costly exercise, you have to pay this very hard, and it is very short-term gains. They can come and help you, but at the end of the day, 1 year, 2 years, they go, and we are left with ground zero again. But experience like this is very valuable. One last point on what advantages. There are a lot of advantages that we can. So now we can say that the GCM Plus, apart from being the government-led initiatives, it has ownership by the members of governments in different countries. So it is a very strong organization, and now we can sit on an equal footing among the African Union, OECD, the World Bank, and the European Union and others during the United Nations General Assembly. So those are small advantage that the GCM Plus can leverage in terms of contributing our perspectives in this thing. And the advantage, another advantage, in the Liberian context, taking advantage Liberia as one of the UN non-permanent Security Council members for the next 2 years, you can leverage, you can amplify the voices of the people. And I can assure you that these small little efforts by your leader, by His Excellency the President, together with the neighboring president, Guinea and Cote d'Ivoire, this can also be shared within the United Nations Security Council. A very, so who will get the benefit? Of course, us, the citizens. We should be feeling proud because our leaders have already initiated. At the same time, at the grassroots level, we continue to maintain peace. One last point. When I was here, I want to share this experience with you. When I was here 2 years ago, observing the elections, in the main protocol avenue, I could see trucks loading, buses loading of followers, supporters of each party. We observed this, and in my country, the election campaign is highly regulated, meaning that it starts from 8 o'clock until sharp 6 p.m. If you do the campaign beyond even 5 past 6 or 15 minutes, half past 6, you're considered like you're doing an infringement about the electoral process. Whereas here in Liberia, what we could see is open eye. The youth, the supporters can carry on the campaign until late evening. To us, I was whispering to my colleagues, if it happens, cemetery, hospital, or prison, because people will be involved in the brawls and attacks and throwing stones and so on. So that's all I have to say. You, the Liberian people, you have a lot to share. You have the potentials. You have people like yourselves, youth, full of potentials, full of energy, the dynamics, and you still have a lot of things that you can contribute to your own development, peace building, and state building of Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving forward, we'll take 2 more questions. We'll take 2 more questions, and we'll balance it like this: 1 male, 1 female. If there is no female, then we'll take 2. So we'll take the first one from.
Okay, thank you. I'm Paul Emmanuel Young, and I'm going to be the Assistant Secretary General of the Student Unification Party on the university campus here. I have a very important question, and I want to place it like this. If we look at the G7 plus countries, these are countries that are struggling with economic issues, with the issues of instability, poverty, and that. And the ideas that I've gathered is that these are countries that want to tell the story different from what it has been told by bigger power, like people in the G7 bloc, people like the maybe America, the Great Britain, the France, and whatsoever. But my concern is, how can we tell this story when even people that head our government do not believe in the potential of their own government or their own people or their own citizens? Like, for example, in my country, our government will consider a report from maybe UNICEF, from IMF, from World Bank more authentic and more serious than the report that they will gather maybe from NAMUD or other local organizations. That report will be as as credible as the report from maybe UNICEF and this and that. When our government have made the people minds to be depending on the imperial narrative of what the imperialists want them to hear. Like Maria Makiba would say, you don't expect the Congo to tell you the story that you to hear. They tell you how those who Congo are the one that tell the beautiful story about what they did and this and that. So how do the G7 align these type of challenges? It may be from the people, it may be from the government, but in Liberia, we have a government that is imperialist control. How do you navigate this complex corridor?
Thank you. One more. A female for that. So we have a student leader, and we give this. After this leader is the only person next.
I would like to appreciate the G7 Plus team for this initiative. I'm Dick Winston Colley, or Youth African, and I'm very curious on what role can our young person play in helping fragile country transform to get us sustainable development, and how can we get involved earlier?
So we got one more. After that, we'll go to the panelists.
I'm Prince P.T.'s Jr., a militant and central committee of the Vanguard Student Education Party, and also the president of the Grand Basel University Student Union. Firstly, let me say thanks to you for your splendid presentation, but I have a very important question. And my question has to do with, what is the role of the G7 Plus in advancing countries like America, countries like Ukraine, countries like Russia, who are producing nuclear weapons? And we know that whenever you are producing nuclear weapons, you are producing nuclear weapons to break a peace that is very fragile. What is that role? That's one. Two, what is the role of the G7 Plus when it comes to Africa, most especially electoral violence? Is it that they only tell Africa that they should practice the democracy that they give to Africa, or Africa should contest democracy and know who to select as the leader? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the panelists. And we'll get, after the answer, just give your parting statement, and then we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Interesting questions, and of course difficult as well. First, with my brother on the, what should we do if the governments do not accept our stories itself. One thing you have to understand, that when the IMF or the World Bank or any other international sophisticated organizations do an assessment, please bear in mind, these are not naive assessments. These are well-constructed assessments. And I can dare to say that they are not always true. You know who conducts these assessments? Have you heard about, foreigners like white men, if I use the delegates here, calling themselves expert on X country? They come and appear on the BBC and then talk as if he knows everything. You know what are these experts? Have you ever had a chance to ask them how long have they lived in these countries which they call themselves expert? We have, bestseller books from white men writing about Afghanistan, expert on Afghanistan. When you ask him, how long have you lived in Afghanistan? not more than 2 weeks. How can you call yourself an expert on these countries? The IMF missions, when they come here, they take business class flight and come and sit here and then go and stay in one of the best hotels, come and conduct meetings, 2 or 3 meetings with a couple of ministers. They don't even dare to go to the local market to talk to people. And then they go back and then produce reports and throw it to, yeah, this is your country, your ranks here. Why does the government have to accept it? Because the government has no choice. Because IMF is giving them the money. If they don't accept the subsidies, the IMF will say, no more, they stop doing that, poverty rockets. It's not that our governments do not understand it, they are not naive. They do understand. We, the G7 Plus, try to change that. We say that, look, we have, for example, on average in one country, we have around 30 countries, and they want to make peace or they want to make development. Don't you think about the fragmentation that when 30 people going in 30 directions, one says this is our priority, the other says this is our priority, where does the government sit here? Government is just recipient. We try to change that by saying that, okay, let us do our own assessment. And then you as a donor come and accept it. But they don't accept it. They say, oh, you don't have the capacity. What capacity do I need to know how poor am I? I don't need a capacity. I feel it. How should I put it on a matrix? So my brother, when you're reading these assessments or these reports, please read it with an eye of suspicion. These are highly paid, advisors who come and they do this assessments and they just stay in 2 or 3 days without even contributing to the local economy. The only contribution that they have is just to pay to the hotel or to the drivers. And they go back. They're very good in writing. I worked in Afghanistan as an aid coordination manager. My role was to assess or to negotiate grant agreements. I swear to God, many times they would send us a project document. The project document would be about Ghana. Unfortunately, they would forget to replace Ghana with Afghanistan, and we found out that it was about assessment about Afghanistan, and there is Ghana. And then we brought it back that, sir, this is Ghana. No, it's Afghanistan, it's not Ghana. Oh, sorry. What happened? They have formats, this kind of format, tip formats, all these consultants, highly paid consultants. Their salaries is in tens of thousands of dollars per month. They have this fixed format. Oh, you know what? I need you to go to Liberia, do an assessment. Sure, I will do it 1 week. They go back, take that format, replace, find, control FR in computer, find Ghana, replace it with Liberia, do it. And just put few matrices. That is the story of these assessments. And the governments, unfortunately, and that's why we are doing, we're trying to empower our governments. When Dr. Helder mentioned that we meet with the World Bank, we try to go there and collectively talk to them that, hey, you are not the experts, we are the experts, we know what it means. Please listen to us. And try to, understand it. And sometimes these policies and these assessments have done more damage than the benefit. In Yemen, the IMF finding and they forced the government to shut the subsidies. The moment they shut the subsidies, the country went to war. Until now, it's suffering. Haiti is another example. So our advice always to the governments is also that please, do not just accept it that it's a Bible or something. No, just question that and challenge that. And lastly, or maybe just very quickly, our General Secretary would also like to add to that, the role of the young people, 3 things. Read, and read. Just study hard, work hard, get up. Not every one of us should be activists. Not everyone of us should be politician. Not every one of us should be a minister. Everyone can contribute to this society. You are innovative, your brain works. Your role in this society could be, if you could just change the life of one fellow Liberian. That's it. Through maybe an innovation, an investment, doing even agriculture, if you can add a supply, a value added to your supply chain, that's it. Just work hard. If you do not study hard, if you do not work hard, if you're not smart enough, what role can you do? Only coming on roads and doing activism the best thing to do, in my opinion. And lastly, on the nuclear, earlier there was a question about the objective. One of the objectives of the G7 Plus is to provide a space to collectively speak. When you speak collectively, the weight increases. But if you are just one person or one country in the global stage, it doesn't make any difference. Because there are also other countries, even in the UN, there is one vote, one country, but actually it does not work like that. You have to come together, you have to make a coalition, and then you have to agree on collective priorities to put forward. So what we are trying to do is, of course, we are not strong enough to counter US or counter Russia or China or the others, but what we are trying to do is, we're trying to join and share our voices to influence their policies. Thank you.
You can do better than that. So I will turn the word now to my colleague in the house.
So I want to say a very big thank you to our team for, can we give another hand of applause for the splendid presentation. It is my expectation that what you expected to hear, or after this meeting, you will know exactly how to go towards resolving conflicts. And you don't fight alone. Like you said, you don't fight alone, brother. So we'll take one remark from the student, just a student, and the speaker is here. My understanding is the speaker is here, and the student representative group to just give a thank you remark. Thank you.
Yo, hello. Why are we sitting so sad? These are conversations that we should be fully participants of, and we should be loud about these topics. So firstly, I want to doff my hat in salutation to the courage and the resilience of the G7, looking at the Secretary General and his entourage, your presence here today, and, set a new pace. Not many of us in this room knew the modus operandi of the G7. So, like he was saying, and we were having a conversation back there, most of the time, the narrative of Africa is not written by Africans. This is why the West has been able to plunder our mind with propaganda. So how did they do that? You see, most often, so you go to your house, or you go home, or wherever you go to a restaurant, when the television comes on, the first thing you see is BBC. And you can bear me witness, many of us who grew up in a home where our parents believe in the news, our fathers will always put BBC on. And the narrative from BBC, CNN, Fox News, all of these places has always been narrative of negativity in Africa. Like he was having conversation, he was talking, there are a lot of wars, horrendous atrocities going on in other places. But if you turn BBC on, the first thing focus on Africa, I will tell you about the crisis in Somalia. And they won't tell you that Somalia is a member of the United Nations Security Council. They will not tell you that Liberia is a member of the United Nations Security Council. All of these things. So these are conversations that when it comes to us, we should be able to digest them, go do our own research, go back in our community and change the narrative so that others who do not have the opportunity like us will not just hear news from the BBC, from CNN, and from Fox News and decide to take it as law and gospel. Let us be able to explain our own story. And quickly, before I can put the mark down, I don't know, I have a concern. Africa has about, if I'm mistaken, 14 members of the G7. But my concern is that Africa does not have a regional hub or a sub-office. But you have office in New York. You have office in Lisbon. I think these are some of the disparities that we need to work on and change. Let Africa have the opportunity to, get an office as majority member of the G7. So I want to say thanks to everyone for coming. The University of Liberia Student Union is open and waiting at any time. These are some of the conversations that we want to keep having. Anytime maybe you in country or so, the Universal Liberal Student Union can organize an event on various campuses. This is not the only campus. We have another campus in Fenlia where we have about 7 to 8 colleges. This is just one college. So sometimes let these conversations go there and let the student understand and know that Africa and members of the G7 countries should be able to explain their own narrative. Thanks so kindly.
I think that was a recommendation for our delegate to take Africa into consideration. Without much to do, we have a little snacks because it's after lunchtime, something that you can munch on and take a bottle of water because you have been here over an hour. We'll need you guys to take photo. You got small package? Okay. Okay, so let me leave it with you. Okay.
Thank you, Professor. On behalf of my team, I also wanted to say thank you so much for your hospitality during
nice.
lunchtime in hosting us here. Before we go to presentation of a small gift from our side to the representative, the students and the professors here, I wanted to comment your comments. Thank you so much. You seem to have done a lot of research about G7 Plus, and it's very insightful, very knowledgeable. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Just one small little point of comment. Yes, we do have 40 member states spread across Africa. The 3 offices mainly in Timor-Leste, in Lisbon, and New York. On the representation office in Africa, we did discuss with Democratic Republic of Congo at that time that it would be ideal to have a small office in Africa, especially in the Francophone, because most of our members are Anglophone and Francophone. So it would be great to have this. But it didn't get traction because it involves a lot of resources, a lot of investment and so on. However, now that 2 deputy chairing countries are Liberia and DRC, and we are going to visit DRC at the end of this mission from Liberia next week. So we are going to bring this up. So you remind us to discuss this with the dignitaries of DRC to have the representation in Africa. So your points are well taken. With that note, allow me to present, I call DGS to come back. We would like to present this small, we brought several gifts to several institutions, but to you students, I think it would be fitting and appropriate to give you a t-shirt that symbolizes peace, that you are an agent of peace, a messenger of peace within the G7 Plus, and also in your own merit as a student who will be graduating from the university, and you're going to change the lives of many Liberians out there. So this small gesture, we want to present this as a token of our appreciation. Yes. So we would like to call a representative from a student, a male and a female, please. Yeah.
One male, one female.
One male, yeah. Yeah.
One male, please come. Are you with the Universal Library?
Let me say 2 males and 2 females, 4 students, please. Yeah.
4 students.
Volunteer, yeah.
2 male, 2 females.
Because
so
we have 7 t-shirts here to distribute, yeah? Yeah.
So 2 persons come on.
Come over here, please. Yeah, yeah.
Sugar. We see 3 female, 2 male, 2 female.
You give it to student, I give it to professor.
Students, 2 students.
2 male
students.
Yeah. And 2 females.
No, students. We're doing student results, students.
Okay, great, yeah. 2 females. Oh.
Yeah. 2 female, then
yes.
you go back.
Yeah, 2 males and 2 females. That's right. Great, thank you. But with that note, let me just, in the order of priority, I'd like to make a presentation to Professor. You can try it on. You know? I hope this. The size is L. Yes. Give a big round of applause, please.
This one will go to the president.
Yes. And this is also L. Yeah. I'll give you one. And yes, yeah. Thank you so much. Please It's just. Yeah. Yeah. And Professor, please come forward. Yeah. 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 You say yeah. Say yeah. You come there. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that note, thank you so much for your hospitality and study hard, and show to the people that we are proud Liberian. And from other G7 plus cities, we'll be very proud of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, yeah, a little housekeeping. While we take pictures here, we ask the students please come downstairs.
You can come right
and we'll
here,
do a
right
picture
here.
with the
Join the
guests.
picture. Please come. Students. Just go in the C form right here. The taller to the back. The tall people, please go to the back. In a C form, because you go straight, you won't get in. C form. Some people can come here. Please, let make it less snappy. You can hit the wall so you can be in the photo group. Thanks a lot. Congratulations. Just do me a favor. You will form one line. Sit in your seats. Please sit in your seats. There's a little refreshment at the back. We hope you appreciate it. But want to do it in an orderly manner so that everybody will be satisfied.